Florida is what I meant to say.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, everybody, because it's on the move. And, you know, believe it or not, our coastal concerns are due to Franklin, and Idalia will not help, of course. We have high surf advisories, along with the rough conditions for the Jersey Shore for parts of Long Island, and yes, of course, the rip currents. Weather is not going to be great beach weather for at least the next few hours as we track some thunderstorms. I'm going to break down the timing and the amazing weather that we've got for at least a few days coming up in the 10-day. My goodness. Okay. All right. We've got a lot going on in the weather world for sure. And we've got all eyes on Hurricane Idalia right now, just a few hours away from landfall. Currently a Category 3 hurricane, 125-mile-per-hour maximum winds. It's moving. That's one of the, if I had to put a positive spin on some aspect of the storm, that's a good thing. This is not going to sit and linger. It is moving to the north-northeast at 17 miles per hour, and that pressure's all the way down to 941. There's room in the next few hours for some strengthening. So the official forecast up until we get that next advisory in about 45 minutes or so is to have it close to Category 4 strength, so 130 mile per hour max winds around that center as it makes landfall again in the next few hours. But it maintains hurricane strength as it crosses through Georgia and into South Carolina. Remember, this cone is just the forecast for the center line. There's a wide-reaching impact. We're talking, of course, about the winds, but inland flooding is going to be a big concern too. Again, this is moving pretty quickly, so that is a benefit. But, you know, half a foot to almost a foot of rainfall in some of these areas from Georgia, but also into the Carolinas could be a huge concern as we get into the next, say, 24 to 36 hours. So that's something that we're watching. Again, we're thankfully on the northern side of all of this, but we've got our eye on our own storm maker. This is a boundary, a front coming on by. So I'm tracking that as well. To the north and west, a lot of lightning in through the Poconos and the Catskills. This is drifting off to the south and the east. So right now ahead of it, just a few spotty showers. And here's what we think is going to happen by 8, 9 a.m. A lot of this begins to fizzle out. Still some heavy rainfall potential, especially for the Hudson Valley into Connecticut. But be prepared with that umbrella by that 8, 9 a.m. time period as this sweeps on through for some showers. The great news is it looks like a beautiful end to the day. Skies start to clear, the humidity starts to come down, and a refreshing breeze. So not so refreshing now with those low clouds. Again, grab the umbrella on your way out the door. It's the morning hours you'll need it. 74 now, that dew point's all the way up to 70. We'll be about the mid-70s by noontime, 84 for the high. And then by tonight, everything starts to cool down. 64 degrees, north winds about 5 to 10, more like 10 to 15 tomorrow, and with a high of 76 degrees. Spectacular. Lots of sunshine. This morning, as we see some heavy rain pushing into our area right now, just some occasional light showers elsewhere, but who's ready for a heat wave? Well, I've got that in the forecast, at least the potential too, heading into the end of the holiday weekend and next week too. So we've got that in the 10-day coming up. In a matter of hours, and we're sort of getting interim updates from the National Hurricane Center with that complete update soon. They're saying that there's signs of intensification, that the pressure continues to drop. So there's no real hindrance right now except land for this storm to continue to strengthen. So right now it's a Category 3, 125 mile per hour maximum winds. A Category 4 is 130 or higher. And we do expect that before landfall later on this morning. So we're talking maybe another 2 to 3 hours potentially. The track continues to take it as a hurricane across Georgia and along the southeast coast, so including South Carolina. Along with that, remember, this is just the center of the storm. The line, the center line is where the center of the storm is forecast to go. You have all the peripheral effects, the winds, the storm surge, and of course the rainfall. But there's some signs that maybe would try and curl back toward the coast. Now the latest models say, okay, that's going to continue out to sea. But a fascinating storm to say the least. What's interesting too is that you can be far from the center and still experience life-threatening storm surge. So that's what we're seeing on parts of the southwest Florida coast. 3-foot storm surge can be life-threatening. That gets, you know, into the low levels of the homes, but where we're seeing the center of the storm, the more impactful is 10 to 15 feet of storm surge. So imagine the roof of your living room right now inundated with water. That's what we're talking about as the storm pushes ashore. So that's the radar. One other aspect too is we're seeing those little red boxes. Those are tornado warnings. So on the eastern side of it, we can often get quick little spins in addition to that heavy rainfall. For us, thankfully, we're on the northern side of all this. We do have some storms to watch. I'm not looking at anything severe at this point, but You can see all of the red and the lightning. Some heavy rain approaching Pike and Sullivan County, where we do have that flood watch. So in the next, say, hour or two, those showers and storms will come on by. By about 8 a.m., starts to fizzle on the south side of that line. So still through the Hudson Valley, Connecticut. Keep an eye on that through the morning drive. And then it's clear sailing. Literally, we see the skies clear out later on today. Not the case now. We've got the low clouds. And I think through the city in that between 8 to 10 a.m. time frame, you could get some of these showers to come on through. And then it's sunshine, breezy conditions, temperatures into the 80s, falling into the 60s overnight. Tomorrow is going to be that chef's kiss. Weather coming through, nothing severe, but it could pour on you pretty quickly, especially north and west right now. Pike, Sullivan County under that flood watch for the next few hours as this line comes on through. So that's something we're tracking. Otherwise, a few spotty showers out there right now. It's going to be a warm, pleasant afternoon once we get past the rain, but how about warm and muggy and more like summer than most of August? That's what I've got for you next week as we roll into September. Some of those mandatory evacuations, and for good reason. If I could put my finger right there, that's about Cedar Key. It's going to be to the right of the center of the storm at landfall, but you can see it's that stronger side too in many ways, and that push of water in places like Cedar Key still an issue, and including Tampa too, where you have storm surge of several feet expected as we go through the next couple of hours. But yes, right now it's a Category 4 hurricane. No sign of its weakening by any significant amount before landfall in a matter of hours here. 130-mile-per-hour maximum winds. The track continues to take it very quickly on shore, but here's the fascinating part too. This is expected to continue to be hurricane strength, and not just hurricane strength, Category 2 hurricane as it moves over land and across Georgia. So this is also not a great update here. The fierce winds will continue to batter parts of Georgia and into South Carolina by tomorrow, beginning to roll off South Carolina's coast, Charleston as well, and then go out to sea as toward the end of the week. But that's the center line forecast, that cone. There are a lot of peripheral effects, the storm surge, of course, the wind field, and the inland flooding concerns really high with this, even though it's moving very quickly. You can see that there are parts of South Carolina, North Carolina that could see half a foot to a foot of rainfall out of this. And so that is definitely a concern here as the storm continues to push inland. We have Franklin here. The difference between the storms, look how large that eye is. Hurricane force winds extend out about 50 miles. Hurricane force winds for Idalia extend out about 25 miles, but the tropical storm force winds extend out 175 miles. So it's still a big, impactful storm. We are on the north side of it. We're going to stay there. We're happy about that, but we've got some showers and storms to track right now, pushing into Pike and Sullivan County. But you can see over the next few hours, really mainly affecting Hudson Valley into Connecticut. I do think it loses a little bit of its punch as it approaches the city, Long Island, down the shore. But as we go through the morning commute, we'll keep an eye on it. But it is a morning thing. So by the afternoon, a lot better. 74 muggy degrees right now. After we move the storms out, we'll get some sunshine in here. 84 degrees for the high. Those northwest winds will start to pick up. Gets a little breezy, a little gusty, but it's refreshing. By tonight, down to 64 degrees. That humidity gets wiped away. Walk like Lily out of Brooklyn. I think now is a good time as those storms and that storm chance continues through the early morning hours, but it's near perfection still through the holiday weekend. Maybe not, though, if you're not ready for some more heat. All that in the 10-day.
Thanks so much.
That's right. That's right. All two of people in here at this hour, right? But we want to welcome everyone to the new school year. Stamford right now should be dry at the bus stop, and we are waiting on some showers to come on through. And right now it's heavily raining in Pike and parts of Sullivan County. No warnings with it, but you're getting a light show. You're probably up because of all of that thunder and the heavy rainfall. So we are looking at the potential for some flash flooding, ponding on the roadways. So give yourself a little extra time, especially north and west of the city. So where does this go? I think this line does lose a little bit as it approaches the city, but still from Orange County through Dutchess County, Putnam County 2 through 8 a.m. Still some heavy rainfall, lightning and thunder, but you can see it sort of tapers off here coming through the city. Newark, Belmar, Merrick, and Islip not seeing too much out of this as the whole boundary clears later this afternoon, which is great news. It really does clear the way for some spectacular weather for us. But of course, the next few hours, we're going to be watching Hurricane Idalia. We're looking at a Category 4 storm, 130-mile-per-hour winds as of the latest advisory. So landfall is imminent in the Big Bend of Florida. But here's some updates here. We expect in the forecast here still a Category 2 hurricane, which is, carrying carrying that momentum and the wind of 100-mile-per-hour winds through southeast Georgia into South Carolina over the next, say, 12 hours. By tomorrow morning, beginning to move away from the coast, but obviously that is just the center line. We're looking at torrential rainfall, inland flooding, maybe as much as half a foot to a foot of rain in parts of South Carolina and North Carolina. So we will continue to watch that. For us, you can see that low cloudiness, kind of a cool view from Brooklyn right now. A lot of humidity, 74 degrees out the door. Eventually, once that front clears, we start to clear the skies. Should be a nice afternoon and evening, a little bit breezier. That humidity starts to come down. 84 degrees for the high. Then by tonight into tomorrow, you'll really feel it. Beautiful conditions, low humidity, and temperatures that'll be into the 70s. And just in case you're wondering, that'll continue still, we expect, through the holiday weekend. The next weather trend we're watching will be Sunday into Monday, mid and upper 80s. Some of that humidity comes back. So talk about an official last blast of summer. We've got it near 90 degrees by Labor Day. We continue that. Useful information. Really, Franklin driving the core of what's making things so rough. It's not just here, but along the entire East Coast. And of course, Idalia, which will eventually get out into the Atlantic, not going to ease that. So it's going to be a couple days. But just again, a recap of Idalia, a Category 4 hurricane, maximum winds of 130 miles per hour. Still going to be a Category 2 as it rakes across southeast Georgia, and then eventually by tomorrow morning, a tropical storm near Charleston, and then moving off the coast. So a couple of noteworthy things. It is going to be moving rather quickly, and that's actually a good thing. But you can see how much territory it's covering. In fact, those tropical storm warnings go all the way up to North Carolina, the Outer Banks, with those hurricane warnings, including parts of southeast Georgia at Savannah as well. So this is something that obviously we'll be watching the next 12 hours or so. Just the next 2 or 3, it'll be this for us, a line of showers and thunderstorms, a lot of lightning coming in through parts of Ulster County. And you see how this is curved right here. Some powerful winds, nothing severe, but a brief, very heavy gusts and heavy rainfall coming through Middletown right now. So heads up in some of these spots in Orange County. So Monroe near you at 6:43, Newburgh by about 7:10, and Cortland about 7:30 as this line pushes to the east at about 20 miles per hour. The tail end of it may kind of putter out here as it gets closer to the city, but by 9, 10 o'clock this morning, most areas start to see the end of the showers and storms. So that's some good news. Also dealing with some patchy fog, especially eastern Long Island, so keep that in mind. Otherwise, just a little bit longer with the clouds and that humidity. 74 out the door right now. Keep the umbrella handy for this morning, and then you can put it away. In fact, this afternoon, really nice, up to about 83 degrees at 3 o'clock. Beautiful lower humidity tomorrow, 76 degrees, and that north wind, it's everything.
The weather.
And tracking some showers and thunderstorms coming through Orange County right now, and another line coming across the Delaware Valley. Right now, 74 degrees and just mostly cloudy at Central Park. So timing out the storms and that cold front gives us a bit of a dip, but I'm talking maybe near heat wave into next week. All of that for you coming up in the 10-day. There are so many other impacts far-reaching, and I'm going to get into that in just a little bit because we'll have some influence here in our weather, and again, I'll explain that. But I want to get to something that's been wonderful going on all month long, and that is the Clear the Shelters campaign, and Storm Team 4 wants to do the part to match a beautiful fur baby with a forever home. I want to make sure I get to talk about James. This is sweet James, 2 years old, a brown lab, and if you know anything about lab mixes, they are just the best pets. So smart, and James loves to play already and is ready for a family that can keep up with his activities and to just give him love and of course belly rubs. So if you think you can have James in your family, just use your camera, click on the QR code. You can find out more how to make James part of your family, which of course, I mean, look at that sweet face. He's just ready for it. All right, well, closer to home again, 74 degrees. It's still muggy out there, so a couple things going on. Tracking showers and thunderstorms. I think the prime time for the city and the chances here about that 8 a.m. time frame. I'm going to show you where they are right now. But the good news is by midday, we're already starting to see that front get to work and start to dry us out. So we are looking at near perfection through the holiday weekend. So I've got that going on. Far from perfect, though, right now in parts of the Hudson Valley. Heavy rain and gusty winds coming through Newburgh and Poughkeepsie with this batch of rainfall, but also another back through Warren County and into Sussex County. So a little bit longer, I'd say another hour or two as it crosses through the area. Keep the umbrella handy. It'll be enough to slow you down on the roadways. That should be just about it, though. Once we get to the afternoon, really, really nice. 84 degrees for the high. Humidity comes way down tomorrow. 76, a bit of a breeze. And as you see, the one thing to watch watch over the Labor Day holiday weekend. The thermometer, it's going to be up to near 90 degrees come Monday. Of course, we'll still be watching the remnants of eventually Idalia. Right now, Cat 4 hurricane, we've been talking about max winds of 130 miles per hour, but still a hurricane as it rakes across Georgia. So it maintains a lot of its strength, a lot of wind power, but also a ton of rain. So concerned about inland flooding. And those watches and warnings shows you the scope of the impacts, those tropical storm warnings all the way to the Outer Banks. So obviously it's not